Welcome to Tyrendarra. We are the only place name in the world with this name. At 38 degrees 14 south by 141 degrees 46 east, a permanent marker overlooking Portland Bay and the Fitzroy River exists still. There are no other names resembling Tyrendarra in lists of Aboriginal place names. In November 1839, Charles Tyre, who was the senior surveyor in what's now Victoria, was instructed by Governor Gibbs to measure the land distance between Geelong and Portland. His junior surveyor was Robert Townsend, and their crew were all Aborigines, and they were instructed to write down and give Aboriginal names, if possible, to all discoveries. At Geelong, their first discovery was that the Otways would be impossible to survey. So they went via Mount Elephant, then Hamilton, west to the junction of the Wannon and Glenelg rivers, crossed them and straight down the south to Nelson. Later to become South Australia and Victoria state boundaries, and arrived eventually in Portland. Now, where a letter from Governor Gibbs instructed Tyres to survey Portland Harbour, and so Tyres was instructed by his boss, his junior, to take the team and measure the distance between Belfast, which is now Port Fairy of course, and Portland, and then return to Portland. Townsend probably knew or guessed that Tyres would not be doing other tours with his boss and friend. And when he came to such a beautiful spot between the two towns, he took the RS of Tyres, from Tyres' name, and replaced them with an Ndarra to make it sound Aboriginal, and complied with his instructions from Governor Gibbs. And that is how Tyrendarra got its name, and of course that's why it's the only one. I would now like to speak about 1 shilling an acre a year for 40 years. And that is these maps. And you will see that the first map that you have there is dated 1884 and has very few names in it, and certainly no sales of land. Your key to freedom in a democratic society is the basis of this land sales. 5 years after the first fleet arrived in 1788, Whitehall offered resident soldiers who were about to return to Great Britain 50 acres of land free instead of them returning, providing they worked and farmed the land, and so the die was cast in regard to the land settlement in Australia. Free settlers had already begun to trickle into the colony 5 years after 1788. Throughout Britain at that time, the Industrial Revolution had begun. Few farmers owned their land in the British Isles. They paid tithes to the owners, that is, usually 10% to churches and land estates. Out of every 10 piglets, 1 piglet went, or bags of potatoes, 1 bag of spuds. Masses of rural people were being replaced with nowhere to go. A large mass of leading people saw opportunities in Canada, New Zealand and Australia. Early bounty schemes, assisted passages, were promoted. In the beginning, all land to be farmed needed a pastoral licence. Land was not sold. The licence fees were similar on properties, businesses and later gold licences. Early colonial governments used trained surveyors and teams of people for maps, land department and survey, inspections and claims, etc. Acts of Parliament broadly classified land into 640 acres and 320 acres and less, then into first, second and third class. At Tyrendarra district, mostly third class at 1 shilling or 10 cents a year for 40 years. All were inspected to ensure the fencing and farming was actually carried out. People had to eventually live on the farms. Outcome. The guiding hand was Robert Torrens, father and son, branded socialists in Britain, but their land transfer system, which allowed for titles of ownership guaranteed by the Crown to the purchaser as a transferable document, and all this enabled a stable banking system to assist with mortgages to the further developing of the land. The Torrens system guaranteed legally that all disagreements were settled at law and people of all races and religions could buy land. Take the old world tithe system was not on. In Oz, it was dead. Thank you.